G'day everybody, working on Landcruiser today. I'm going to be doing the rear spring pins and bushes on it. I thought I'd make a little video about how to go diagnosing whether or not you've got worn out bushes and pins on leaf springs. So I'll show you what's going on with my ones. They're pretty, well, they're not completely flogged out, but they're pretty worn. And I'll show you another set as well, just so you can have a rough idea of how you can go about diagnosing them. So here's the rear shackle and pins on the back of my ute. In here is where your bush is in the eye of the spring there. There's three main things that you want to be looking for when you're gonna replace them, or if you're looking servicing them or whatever. You want to see if the bush is worn where the pin is. So generally you'll get up and down movement with your spring. So you generally get a pry bar. You get a pry bar in like so, and you pry the pressure, put pressure down on there, and you'll notice if the spring will move up and down, if the bush won't move moving, and that you can see that you'll know if there's movement in there. You'll be able to tell. Another thing to look out for is if the side gap there. You'll notice there's a large gap in between the bush and the spring. I think on mine, I think it's shimmed out properly, but that can also be a wear thing when it wears the flanges of your bushes. These are rubber ones, so they'll wear a bit easier. And I'll show you what happens with steel ones though. So that's one thing we're looking out for as well. Also another thing is if you're greasing it, these have greasable shackles. If you can't get grease through, that's generally a sign that they're beginning to wear out, and depending on how long it's been before it's been grazed, it can already have caused enough damage from riding on that dry spot to have flogged out the bush. So when you're grazing them, you generally want to jack the chassis of whatever you're working on up, take all the weight off your spring and graze them, and then grease will go right around your bush, instead of having it jacked in on the ground, because all your weight will be on the bottom of the spring and on the bottom of the bush. So you'll only get grease coming out the top, which isn't wearing as hard as what the bottom will be. So that's the other thing you want to look out for. So yeah, these are with the rubber ones. They wear a bit different to steel ones. So I'll show you what a set of steel bushes looks like, and I'll show you what the movement is in this shackle as well. All right, so I've got Dad on the pry bar. He's pushing that up and down. It's a little bit hard to tell. Just rock it a bit harder. But there is movement, and you can sort of see in the spring and the bush is worn out in the actual spring itself. It's a bit easy to see on the other side there, but it just goes to show that those bushes are worn out in the spring, so they're right to be replaced. And you also see it up in that top one as well. So I've just come out to the old semi-trailer. Now this one is different to the ute. It'll have, well, I don't know what the bushes were like when they put them in, whether they were just a steel bush, but a lot of modern day ones are steel with a brass insert, and the brass insert's what wears. So I'll just get that to pry on it again. As you can see there, our bush and pin are completely flogged out by just how much movement you've got in there. And that's how you check them on a truck. Well, trailers won't have these sort of springs in them these days. It's sort of obsolete in trailers, but that's what it'll look like when you're completely flogged out. Yeah, so that's what a flogged out pin and bush will look like on leaf springs. You won't see that on semi-trailers. They don't run that sort of style suspension anymore, and it doesn't really matter because that's just a farm trailer, so it's not worrying us. You will find that sort of suspension on a lot of trucks. American trucks, you'll find it mainly in the front end. European trucks generally run rubber bushes, but same style, but with the rubber bushes. Pretty much all Japanese trucks over a certain tonnage will run the steel and brass insert bushes, and they flog out really quick. So you want to be making sure that whoever's working on is greasing them properly, because they'll flog out within no time, because they design them to wear out really quick to create work for dealerships, because that's how dealerships will make their money if we're doing suspension work. So make sure you're greasing them properly so you're not giving those dirty bastards any money. And yeah, the smaller Japanese trucks will run the rubber bushes as well. So that's generally what you're looking for when you're checking for wearing your pins and bushes and shackle pins, is mainly that up and down movement, but also check the side to side movement between the edge of the bush and the side of your shackle, because that will create side movement in your axle and can scrub out your tyres. It's also unroadworthy in Australia. Don't know about the rest of the world what they do. Yeah, so just you want to be keeping an eye on that, and that's basically it. So that's what to look out for when you are inspecting your rear suspension on a ute like mine, or main suspensions on trucks, and so forth. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next one.